Warm welcome to all the viewers. Today in this video I will elaborate the introduction to load frequency control, followed by necessity of keeping frequency as constant. What is the importance of load frequency control, followed by what is a control area, and then what is an incremental power balance concept in control area. So it is good to start with introduction. So you all know that the basic example for active and reactive power is, if you boil the milk and if you turn it into glasses, then you will get foam on the top of your milk. Here the milk is compared as active power and the foam obtained on the top of the milk is termed as reactive power. So in order to transmit the active power over longer distances, it is mandatory to transmit the reactive power at the same time. So in a power system, both the active power and reactive power demands are never steady. So these powers, active power and reactive power, they always changes with respect to time. They are not going to maintain a constant value. So in this contest, the steam input to the turbine generators or the water as input to the hydropower turbines or generators must be regulated. Otherwise, the output of active power generated from the respective generators will not match the load demand. So if the generators do not match the load demand, then automatically it may leads to failure. So the speed of the machine gets changed. Suppose if the load on the machine increases, then suddenly the speed of the alternator decreases. If the alternator decreases, then there exists consequent change in frequency and it is maybe highly undesirable. So based on the research, the engineers have proposed that the maximum permissible change in frequency is limited to plus or minus 2%. The excitation of your generators must be continuously regulated to match the reactive power demand with the reactive power generation, as it is already known that the generation must be equal to sum of demand plus losses. So it is also the case where we have to check whether the excitation, if this excitation is continuously regulated, then we can match the reactive power demand with the reactive power generation. Otherwise, failing it results in the loss of voltages. So in a power system we have more number of buses. So at each and every bus we shall maintain a constant voltage profile, 1 per unit. So in this case, if the reactive power demand is not equal to the reactive power generation, then it may leads to change in the voltages at various bus systems placed in the power system. In large interconnected modern power systems, the manual regulation is not at all possible, because in the name itself it is clear that the system which is connected, the power system is a vast network. If it is vast network, then it is not possible to operate manually for time to time, because each and every second or each and every minute the load on the power system gets changed. If load on the power system is changing, then automatically the reactive power as well as active power demands gets changed. According to that, the generation of active power as well as reactive power should change, and it has to be done now. So it is not possible to do manually. However, there are two schemes. One is automatic generation control and other one is voltage regulation equipment. So there is a device called automatic voltage regulator, which in turn takes care of maintaining the constant voltage at each and every generator. So this necessitates that the reactive power generation is equals to reactive power demand. Similarly, in order to achieve the condition that active power generation is equals to active power demand, you require a scheme called automatic generation control or AGC. So this AVR is an equipment which is used to regulate the voltage. It is placed at each and every generator so that it maintains constant voltages. There are some set of controllers for operating these type of conditions, and these set of controllers may come into the picture to take care of small changes in load demand without exceeding the general limits of frequency as well as limits of voltages. As and when there is a change in load, if it is smaller in amount, then these controllers come into the picture to take care of it. Otherwise, if it is large, then the controllers must be either reset manually or automatically only. Moving on to the next subtopic, necessity of maintaining frequency as constant in a power system. So constant frequency is to be maintained because of these 5 reasons. One is all the motors should require constant frequency supply so as to maintain speed of the motor as constant. Second one is, in continuous process industry, it affects the operation of process itself. Third one, for synchronous operation of various units in the power system network, it is necessary to maintain constant frequency. And fourth one, frequency affects the amount of power transmitted through interconnecting lines. Lastly, electrical clocks will lose or gain time if they are driven by synchronous motors, and the accuracy of the accuracy of the clocks depending upon the frequency, and also integrals of this frequency error is treated as either loss or gain of time by electric clocks. Moving on to the next topic, importance of load frequency control. So till now it is clear that why the power system has to maintain a constant frequency throughout its operation. Now moving to the topic, importance of load frequency control. So load frequency control is a basic topic where we can make the power system to operate in an economic and more efficient manner. So there is a variation in load demand, then automatically if the load gets fluctuated, then automatically if the load increases, the generation also should increase. Otherwise, if load decreases, then the generation should decrease. So there exists a real power balance between input and output. If there is no proper communication between input and output, there exists an unbalance between real power input and real power output. So this momentarily may happen when there is a change in load demand. So this difference is generated, that is real power input and real power output. The difference between real power input and real power output is being supplied by the stored energy of rotating parts of the unit. So kinetic energy. So the kinetic energy of any alternator is given by, in general expression, Ke is equals to half I omega square, where I is moment of inertia and omega is angular speed of the rotating part. So this equation necessitates that kinetic energy is directly proportional to square of speed of the machine. Suppose if the kinetic energy reduces, then automatically the angular speed of your machine also reduces. Angular speed reduces means we know the relationship that in the relationship of angular speed and frequency is treated as omega 2 pi f, where f is related with speed as ns is equals to 120 f by p. Suppose if omega reduces, then automatically frequency reduces, and it is known that synchronous speed ns is given by 120 f by p, where f is frequency and p represents number of poles of an alternator or a machine. Suppose if the frequency reduces, then speed of the machine decreases, and hence finally the frequency reduces. If frequency reduces, then automatically the machine is going to get disconnected from the grid, and sometimes even it may leads to failure of grid also. So this small change in frequency delta f is sensed with the help of a speed governor or flyball mechanism, and this small change is sensed and it is fed back to the position of inlet valve of prime mover, so that it gets changed, and hence the frequency change in frequency is being supplied by it to the generating unit. Suppose if the input of prime mover suitably increases and tries to bring back the balance between real power input and real power output, then automatically there will be no change in frequency, that is delta F becomes 0. So this necessitates, or this states that the frequency variation is definitely proportional to real power balance of the system, that is real power is frequency, change in frequency of the system is directly proportional to change in real power balance of the system, that is frequency of the system is directly proportional to real power of the system. So this load frequency controls the real power transfer through the interconnecting transmission lines by sensing the change in power flow through the tie lines. And next concept, definition of control area. As already discussed that the power system is a vast network, it is divided into n number of sub areas, and each sub area is called as control area. So in the figure that I am showing you now, it is control area 1, control area 2, control area 3, control area 4, and so on, control area n. So the part of power system only, but these areas are connected with a line called tie line. In the figure I have shown with the red color lines connecting each and every control area, am I right? So that red color lines are nothing but tie lines. In technically they are termed as tie lines. Generally all the alternators located at different locations, suppose Rayalaseema thermal power project, we have more number of units, then similarly Srisailam right bank powerhouse. So all these are generators and they are located at different locations. For example, the RTPP is located at Muddanur in Rayalaseema, whereas Srisailam hydropower station is located in Srisailam. So there are so many several small also. These generators are connected in parallel to meet the load demand of a entire power system. All these generators are having same response, that is 50 cycles per second, that is frequency of this all generators is same for change in load. This large power system is divided into sub areas, and those sub areas are termed as control areas. The control area, each control area consists of a generator, speed governor, and load demand on the system. Suppose now incremental power balance. Suppose if there is any change in real power demand on the system, that is the real power demand in general, it is represented as PD. Suppose if for area 1 it is represented as PD1. If there is any small change in load demand, as I said that as and when time varies, the load demand on the system also varies. Suppose instead of PD it is varied by PD plus delta PD1, where that delta PD1 is small change in active power demand, plus represents more incremental value. So in order to supply this delta PD1 value from the generation, you require more amount of generation from the generator of that control area 1. So that incremental change in real power generation is represented as delta PG1, where PG1 is the general real power generation from the generator located in control area 1. But now for a small change in real power demand of PD plus delta PD1, that is for small change of delta PD1, we increase the generation from PG1 to PG1 plus delta PG1, where delta PG1 is the small change in real power generation. Hence the net power in the control area 1 is now given as delta PG1 minus delta PD1. So this depend upon this is observed by the system in 3 different ways. One is stored kinetic energy of control area, another one is increased load consumption, and third one is increased flow of power through power tie lines, that is tie lines, by an amount of delta P tie. So if there is increase, then it is definitely treated as positive. Okay. The net surplus power is now expressed as delta Pg1 minus delta PD1 is expressed as three parameters. One is due to change of due to increase in stored kinetic energy, it is represented as dWke1 by dt, and due to increase in load consumption, it is represented as dD1 by dF into delta F as B1 delta F. And similarly, third one, increased flow of power through tie lines is now represented as delta P tie. So it is finally represented as delta Pg1 minus delta PD is equals to dWke1 plus dt plus B1 delta F plus delta P tie. So this is for an interconnected system, that is control area 1 must be connected at least with control area 2 or so on control area n. Suppose if it is an isolated system, then it is given with delta Pg1 minus delta PD1 equal to dWke1 plus dWke1 dt plus B1 delta F. Here there is no delta P type because this is an individual area, it has no connection. This is an isolated power system, only one area, and it has no connection with other area. So if there is no connection, then there is no tie line. So change in power due to tie line is absent. Delta Pg1 minus delta PD1 equal to dWke1 by dt plus B1 delta F for an isolated power system or for a single area control. Thank you all the viewers for watching the video by sparing your valuable time. Hope you have gained your knowledge. Thank you. If you feel free and if you like the video, please type like, please press like and type comment in your chat box so that there may be an improvement in the next videos. If you like more, then I request you wholeheartedly to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you. Thank you viewers.